What's the backstory? What's the drama here and how Democrats wandered over to the House of Orrin Hatch?
Well, a few Democrats wandered over, most notably Ron Wyden, who's the top Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee. Tom, this is a very big deal.
Yeah.
The announcement yesterday that he's reached an agreement, a bipartisan agreement with Orrin Hatch on trade promotion authority. This means that the Obama trade agenda, which has been basically in a freezer the last couple of years, is once now again on the front burner. And it means the president has a real chance to pass not one, but two major trade deals before he leaves office.
Right.
Tom, these are the most significant economic items perhaps the president could achieve in his final 19 months.
Peter, as you always do, you cut to the chase. It's about the senator from Oregon. How are the Pacific states lining up around this trade deal if it's a Pacific trade agreement?
Well, Oregon's a big exporter, so Oregon potentially could benefit. But Ron Wyden's made a very difficult choice here in backing this kind of legislation because he faces a lot of criticism back in his home state that this is a deal that, like NAFTA in the past, in the view of a lot of Democrats, may do more harm than good to American workers. That's the hurdle he has to overcome. He's convinced this is good for Oregon, good for the country, good for American workers. And one of the reasons he thinks that, he said yesterday, is because he's insisted that there be certain conditions within this legislation that he thinks will ultimately help, including tougher labor provisions, tougher environmental provisions, and more transparency so people can see what's in the deal.
Right. And Brendan, what's important in this conversation is this is not a trade dialogue of 10 or 20 or 30 NAFTA years ago. It's a new American economy.
Well, that's what's so, Peter, I have to admit, I saw the name Ron Wyden and I heard a dog whistle, which is open internet access. This is something that people out in Silicon Valley have been pushing for to make sure that Facebook, for example, can't get blocked in Vietnam. Only recently has this become even a trade priority for the U.S., and yet that was part of the deal. Are we seeing the increased lobbying power of Silicon Valley and D.C.?
Well, I think that's a big issue for Ron Wyden. It has been for a long time. I'm not sure he needed to be convinced that that had to be part of this transaction. But you can be sure this is technology is part of the debate here. The reason the 2002 Trade Promotion Authority legislation was out of step and out of time with today is because it doesn't really involve enough of the digital economy. And that's one reason it has to be updated if they're going to move forward. So Ron Wyden, I'm sure, heard from the tech community, but this is a direction Ron Wyden was going anyway. But still, this is a big decision for him. He's faced protesters at almost every single stop when he goes home over this issue. They did not want him to vote for this, a lot of people in Oregon.
And Brendan, 12 countries involved. I know you want to jump in here, but Kevin Rudd will be with us with Australia in our next hour.
Yeah, to talk about America's relationship with China, which, of course, this Trans-Pacific Trade Pact is aimed at. Peter, one last question real quick. Is this a one-off issue or is Congress unstuck?
This is a one-off issue. You're not going to see Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell singing the president's praises and the administration's praises and working as hard for any issue other than this one going forward. Maybe cybersecurity, but this is a big deal, and this is going to be Republicans and the president and a handful of Democrats and a lot of Democrats, powerful ones like Chuck Schumer we heard earlier, standing in the way.